Every treasure on this list is real. Every single one of them actually existed, and people can prove it with real photographs, real records, or real written history. But every one of them is gone. Not hidden in a private collection somewhere, not sitting quietly behind glass in some museum nobody has heard of. Actually gone. So completely gone that entire governments, professional treasure hunters, and lifelong historians have spent decades searching and found absolutely nothing. Today, we count down 5 of the greatest treasures in human history that vanished without a trace and were never seen again. And the last one has been missing for almost 800 years, with an entire empire's worth of secrecy helping keep it hidden. Number 1. The Honjo Masamune. This was a legendary Japanese sword forged by a master swordsmith named Masamune, widely considered the greatest blade maker in the country's history. Collectors and historians still study his surviving work today, trying to understand how he achieved such perfect balance and sharpness using only medieval tools. This particular blade was named after a later owner and was eventually classified as a national treasure, a formal honor given to only a handful of the finest swords ever made in the entire country. For centuries, it was passed down as a treasured symbol of the ruling Tokugawa family, who governed Japan for over 250 years. It survived civil wars. It survived the fall of the shogunate. It survived the rise of modern Japan. It survived for roughly 600 years without ever leaving Japanese hands. Then World War II ended. As part of the surrender terms, the occupying forces ordered Japan to hand over all historic weapons, including ceremonial swords. Following the law exactly, the sword's owner personally carried it to a local police station in December of that year and handed it over. Thousands of swords were collected this way from families all across the country during that same period. Records show this particular blade was then passed along to an American soldier for processing, whose name was written down at the time. Here is the twist. That single handwritten note is the last confirmed trace of it that anyone has ever found. No museum has it. No collector has ever come forward with it. It simply vanished somewhere inside the paperwork of a massive military occupation. Searchers have tried for decades to track down that soldier's family with no success. It may have been melted down by someone who had no idea what they were holding, or it could be sitting quietly in an attic somewhere, completely unrecognized to this very day. Number 2. The Fabergé Imperial Eggs. These were extraordinary jeweled Easter eggs crafted by a goldsmith named Peter Karl Fabergé for the Russian royal family. Every single year, for decades, the reigning czar commissioned a brand new one as a gift, each more elaborate than the last. Each egg took months of work by a full team of skilled jewelers and always contained a hidden surprise inside, like a tiny golden carriage, a miniature portrait, or a small mechanical bird that could actually sing. Around 50 of these imperial eggs were ever made in total. When the Russian Revolution hit in 1917, the royal family was overthrown, and their entire treasure collection, including every egg, was seized by the new government. In the chaos that followed, several of the eggs were quietly sold off to private buyers abroad, while others simply disappeared from any written record entirely. For decades, multiple eggs remained completely unaccounted for anywhere in the world, with no photograph and no owner willing to come forward. Here is the twist. In 2014, an American scrap metal dealer bought a strange gold egg-shaped object at a local bric-a-brac market, purely for its melt value, paying only about the price of scrap gold. He planned to simply melt it down for a quick profit, like he had done with other old gold pieces before. Before doing it, he searched online for the name printed on a tiny clock built into the egg and discovered with total shock that he was holding one of the long-missing imperial eggs. It turned out to be worth more than $30 million. Number 3. The Amber Room. This was an entire chamber with walls built entirely from panels of golden amber backed with gold leaf and mirrors, so the whole room seemed to glow warmly from every angle, even in dim candlelight. Amber this size and quality was already incredibly rare, making the room worth an almost unimaginable fortune the moment it was finished. It was originally built for a palace in Prussia, then gifted to Russia's Peter the Great in 1716 as part of an alliance, and eventually installed inside a grand palace near St. Petersburg, where it stunned every visitor who saw it. During World War II, Nazi forces invaded the region, looted the room piece by piece, packed the fragile amber panels into dozens of wooden crates, and shipped the entire thing to a castle in Germany, where it was carefully reassembled and put on display for a few years. Then, in 1945, as the war collapsed and Soviet forces advanced on the city, the castle came under heavy bombing, and the surrounding area fell into total chaos. After that, the room simply vanished from history completely. Nobody knows for certain whether it burned to ash in the fire, destroyed forever, or whether someone quietly hid the crates away somewhere before the bombing even began. Here is the twist. Since nobody could ever prove it was truly gone, a team of skilled craftsmen spent over 20 years painstakingly building an exact, full-scale reconstruction using old historical photographs, finally finished in 2003. Meanwhile, treasure hunters and historians are still actively searching mines, tunnels, and hidden bunkers for the real one to this very day. Number 4. The Ark of the Covenant. According to ancient scripture, this was a golden chest built to hold the original stone tablets of the Ten Commandments, said to carry immense divine power, strong enough to strike down anyone who touched it improperly. It was carried by the Israelites through the desert for generations, often leading their armies into battle, and eventually placed inside Solomon's grand temple in the heart of Jerusalem. At some point after that temple was destroyed, the Ark simply disappears completely from the historical record, with no clear explanation of what happened next. No text written after that point clearly describes where it went or what became of it. Here is the twist. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church claims they have actually had it this entire time. According to their tradition, it was brought to the region by the son of King Solomon himself, and it now sits inside a small, heavily guarded chapel in the ancient city of Aksum. A single monk is personally chosen to guard it for the rest of his life. Once chosen, he is never allowed to leave the chapel grounds again, for any reason at all, not even to visit his own family. He is also the only human being on the entire planet ever allowed to look directly at it. That means no historian, no photographer, and no outside expert of any kind has ever been permitted to verify if it is actually there at all. Number 5. Genghis Khan's tomb. When the great Mongol conqueror died in the year 1227, after building the largest connected land empire the world had ever seen, he had reportedly requested total secrecy for his own burial, with no monument and no marker of any kind to ever reveal the spot. According to legend, the funeral procession deliberately killed anyone who happened to witness it passing by along the way to keep the route unknown. The soldiers who personally carried out the actual burial were then killed by a second group of soldiers specifically to keep the exact location secret forever. Those soldiers were then reportedly killed as well, continuing the chain of silence. Some old accounts even claim a nearby river was deliberately redirected to flow directly over the gravesite, hiding it completely underwater before being allowed to return to its natural path once the ground had fully settled. Other legends describe thousands of horsemen trampling the entire burial area flat afterward, so no fresh mound of earth would ever stand out. For almost 800 years, explorers, archaeologists, and treasure hunters have searched for this tomb using every method available, from simple digging to modern aerial photography. In recent decades, international research teams have even used satellite imaging, ground-penetrating radar, and drones to scan enormous stretches of the Mongolian steppe, looking for even the smallest unnatural feature in the landscape. To this day, despite all of that effort, absolutely nobody has ever found it. 5 legendary treasures, 1 handed over legally and never seen again, 1 nearly melted down for scrap by pure accident, 1 entire glowing room that vanished in the middle of a war, 1 guarded today by a single monk nobody else on Earth is allowed near, and 1 so well hidden that an entire empire's secrecy has outlasted 8 full centuries of non-stop searching. Somewhere out there, every single one of these might still exist, waiting to be found by the right person at the right time. Which one surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below.